What is going on, everyone? I hope you are all having a fantastic day. So on Monday, we talked about what the best realistic solution is as far as the second stimulus check goes. And I challenged you all to comment your solution that is both realistic and effective. And I got a lot of messages that said that the $2,000 per month would be effective, and that most of the fluff from something like the HEROES Act simply needs to be removed in order to make this realistic. So today I want to answer the question of, could we still see that $2,000 per month in recurring payments that has been so widely talked about in so many different proposals? Make sure you subscribe and get your free $75 from SoFi using the first link down in the description, and let's jump right into it. So like I said, we have seen a lot of proposals that have had something to do with that $2,000 per month in recurring payments. And this gained a lot of popularity very quickly in the media and with the general public, but was largely criticized by Senate Republicans who said that it was just too expensive. But is this still a possibility? Just to get you up to speed really quick, we had the ABC Act, or Automatic Boost to Communities Act, that would give you $2,000 upfront and then $1,000 in recurring payments each month for a year after the pandemic on that debit card. We also saw the Emergency Money for the People's Act that would give you $2,000 per month for a full year. And that's the one that gained a lot of attraction and had a lot of co-signers in the House. And beyond that, we also had the most recent Monthly Economic Crisis Support Act that would again give you $2,000 per month. If you want a more in-depth breakdown of any of those bills, I will be sure to link them in the description below, since I did make a full video for each of these. So if this concept of $2,000 a month has received so much attention, then why hasn't something like this moved on to the Senate? While the HEROES Act, which is just another one-time $1,200 payment, is being passed by the House and is now in the Senate. Well, the main issue is that the big names in the House have put all of their time and effort behind the HEROES Act, which unfortunately does not include those recurring monthly payments. However, the larger issue is that it is extremely expensive and therefore has little to no chance of getting past the Senate, as we've talked about many times. But just how expensive would these proposals actually be? For some perspective, the $1,200 in direct payments that was part of the CARES Act, which was passed towards the end of March, that only cost $250 billion of the $2.2 trillion for the total package. But remember, this $250 billion was just a one-time $1,200 payment, while many of the proposals we have seen have offered a $2,000 or more monthly recurring payment, and obviously the cost of this balloons quickly as a result. The Automatic Boost to Communities Act, for example, would have cost nearly $10 trillion, since this would give you $2,000 every month during the health crisis and $1,000 a month for a year after the crisis. Now, obviously that's an extreme example, and the Emergency Money for the People's Act and the Economic Crisis Support Act came in at $4.5 trillion and $3 trillion respectively. And while $3 trillion is significantly lower than $10 trillion for the ABC Act, unfortunately this is still too expensive, since this is only for those direct payments and would already surpass the cost of the entire CARES Act alone before getting to the needs of the state and local governments, small businesses, and corporations. And all of those entities I just mentioned are in dire need of support, just like individuals. Personally, I think a large part of the reason why many of these bills have been stopped in their tracks is that nobody is proposing something that prioritizes the wants of either side of the aisle. As we know, Republicans want some sort of payroll tax cut, which has some flaws, while Democrats want a recurring monthly payment and a lot of other fluff that is in the HEROES Act. For example, the HEROES Act includes $25 billion for the United States Postal Service, and while this might be a worthwhile cause in your opinion, this is not something that should be included in a Crisis Support Act that needs to get past the Senate fast. This only adds to the total cost and reduces the likelihood that those payments that Americans need so badly will actually hit their bank accounts. A short 50-page bill that includes direct payments, reasonable support for businesses, and support for state governments on a case-by-case basis would probably fly through the House and Senate and be signed off by the president by the end of the week. But instead, our leaders in Washington have put the kitchen sink in this bill, which remember is 1,800 pages and includes all sorts of things that will have to be analyzed and debated in the Senate. On top of the extreme cost of a large recurring monthly payment, Senate Republicans have also brought up the issue that individuals are making too much money. Now, I know this is another very hot topic, and obviously going on national television and saying that people are making too much money is not a good look when you're making a handsome six-figure salary yourself. But I think the point that was trying to be made in this case is that it's difficult to get people to come back to work when they're making a ton of money just sitting at home claiming their unemployment, and adding $2,000 per month to that would only exacerbate this problem. I mean, some of these proposals would literally rain money on a lot of people. The Economic Crisis Support Act would have given each member of your family $2,000 per month, regardless of age or income, and couples could claim up to 3 dependents, meaning they would get $10,000 a month completely tax-free, plus the retroactive pay that would be another $30,000 or $40,000, and unemployment benefits if they happen to meet that criteria as well. Now, maybe you think that's right, maybe you think it's wrong, it doesn't really matter, but the point that has been made and proven is that people don't want to go back to work, and can really make up whatever convincing excuse they want in order to continue claiming their $600 per week in unemployment benefits. Okay, that argument aside, let's go back to the cost for a second, because Senate Republicans don't necessarily care about the number itself, they care about the negative effects that this could have on our economy, such as inflation or higher taxes in the future in order to pay back this debt. While this may be an unpopular opinion, I do personally believe that throwing trillions of dollars in free money onto people would lead to inflation, and I think that anyone who has studied economics at any level would agree with this. I've seen several people come forward with theories that inflation wouldn't even happen because theoretically we're in a state of deflation since no one is spending any money. But believe me when I say, if you started giving $10,000 a month to every single family, prices would definitely start to go up, and that is inflation. We have already seen significant increases in prices of groceries, and while that was largely caused by a change in supply and demand, showering the consumer economy with trillions of dollars for free would only make this problem even worse. Okay, so obviously $2,000 per month to every single person is unrealistic, but what about $2,000 a month to tax-paying individuals with strict income requirements? Is this still a possibility? This is just a best guess based off the information we have right now, but I definitely wouldn't rule it out. Again, the $1,200 checks from the CARES Act only cost $250 billion of the $2.2 trillion total cost. So a $2,000 per month payment that is restricted in income and perhaps other criteria might be a realistic solution if the other costly fluff is also eliminated. Obviously, we'll have to see what happens with the HEROES Act first, since that is what's getting most of the attention right now, but if the Senate does in fact vote against that like they're saying they're going to, then Congress as a whole will really be back to square one, and a realistic $2,000 per month proposal could once again start to gain traction. But even then, I still would argue that it isn't a perfect solution, considering that 1 in 10 individuals who make over $100,000 per year are still living paycheck to paycheck. And yeah, you can blame the individual and say they need to save better and they need to have an emergency fund.
Fully funded emergency fund.
And of course there is some merit to that, but like I said in Monday's video, this is no time to be blaming someone who is having trouble saving their money. If anything, they can use this as a learning experience to learn the importance of having an emergency fund. But for now, restricting someone from stimulus because they have a certain income may be an unpopular opinion, since you can be completely broke regardless of how much money you make. For the record, you can also be pretty rich regardless of how much money you make, as long as you make smart financial decisions. That being said, for something like a recurring monthly payment to get passed in the Senate, the income threshold is going to have to come down in order to reduce the overall cost. Otherwise, it just has no chance of passing. Either the $2,000 per month number would have to be reduced, or some other criteria or qualifying factor would have to change, since the Senate has already expressed its distaste with the $2,000 per month proposals that we've seen so far. Now, of course, I know this is a hot topic, and once again, I'm curious what you think, since I know a lot of you in the last video said that that $2,000 per month was the perfect compromise. So let me know down in the comments section what you would change that income threshold to, or if you'd rather see the $2,000 per month be reduced to something like $1,000 that we talked about in Monday's video. Snapping back to reality for a second and things that are for sure and can actually happen, if you want to get $75 for absolutely free guaranteed, then be sure to use that first link down in the description for SoFi, which is an incredibly comprehensive money management app that lets you spend, invest, save, borrow, and so much more. I know I've just started talking about this platform recently, but I'll be making a full video on SoFi in the future. But if you want to get your $75 for free, be sure to use that first link in the description and sign up with them, and you'll get your $75 guaranteed. As always, thank you so much for your time, take it easy, and I'll see you in the next one.